Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I am talking about how I brainwashed myself, how I changed my levels of confidence, whether or not I cared for validation from people, and most probably one of the most important things is knowing that I could do this, knowing that I could get everything I wanted, the actual result, and not just part of the way there, because I used to have this built-in feeling, I could feel it there in a belief, even though intellectually I knew that wasn't true. I had this going on inside of me, I could feel it there, that said, yeah, you can get halfway there, but you can't get the whole thing. And I don't know where that came from at all. So those were the key things that I wanted to work on. So I'm going to talk to you about how I did it. But one of the main points I'm going to make is what I would do different if I was doing it now, because I would certainly do it differently now, and I would shave a good 6 months off the time, I think. So I'm going to talk about that. But first of all, I'm going to talk about how I did it, how it changed and what I am now compared to what I was, and how I would do that differently. Then you can make an informed decision and decide how you're going to do it if this is what you're looking at doing. First of all, I'm just going to warn you that the weather in the UK is so rubbish at the moment. It's raining all the time, and I'm out in the conservatory, and I'm hoping that if there is any rain, it will just be light. So hopefully if you can hear it, it'll just be like ambient noise and you'll quite like it. If it starts getting really heavy, then I'll have to stop and come back to this. Okay, this is what I did. So I decided on those points. I really thought about what is it that I want to change? What is it about myself that really I feel I would like to be different? So I was amazing at pretending to be confident. So lots of people will go, but you've always been confident. Well, no, I haven't. I was good at pretending to be, but I didn't feel it internally. It was a struggle. I was putting on an act, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to just feel confident and not have to be pretending at it, sort of play acting. So that was the point. I didn't want to care for validation. I think the problem with me with validation, and it wasn't like I was always telling people what I was doing, because I actually have a funny thing going on there, because I don't actually like talking about myself, and I never have done. So it was a funny thing, but I think it was probably more a parental thing. And that's not that I was always fighting for validation when I was younger or anything. It's just that I didn't do well at school. I found it very hard to focus. I'm sure they'd have a label for me now. And I didn't do well, so I didn't come out with any qualifications. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I drifted around for a few years, really not knowing what I wanted to do. Really, I didn't get to do what I really wanted to do until I was in my 40s. So I guess although I was drifting around, going from thing to thing, I was always doing reasonably well. And, you know, I've been in business for, God, I don't know, 26 years, something like that, even longer than that. But I guess there was a need for validation there. And I tried to push that away and pretend it wasn't there, but it was. And I didn't want that anymore, because I don't like it. I do not like how that feels. So I wanted rid of that, and I wanted to know that I could get the whole thing, that I was not going to get stuck halfway, doing reasonably well, but not brilliantly well. That's kind of what I had going on. So what I did was this. I found lots of statements, and I was making tons of statements all throughout the day, not sort of obsessively, but as I was sat at my desk at work, I'd be saying them in my head before I went to bed, during the day, things like, I'm a strong, confident person. I think that's a really good phrase, actually. And I use that a lot, because strong and confident, I think, go really well together. I don't need validation. I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. Why do I care what anyone thinks? It's only important what I think. Loads and loads of different things. I can get there. I can get what I want. There's no reason I can't get what I want. It's illogical to think I can't get what I want. And I would say all of those things. And so timescale wise, after 6 months, I started to feel a lot freer and a lot more like, yeah, I can feel something shifting, but I wouldn't say it was changed as such. A year, it was changed. A year, my confidence was like soaring. I don't have a problem with confidence now at all. I'm not pretending. I am confident. I wouldn't have stood up and spoken in front of loads and loads of people. You know, I used to speak in smaller groups, and I was really uncomfortable doing that, but I guess I looked as if I was comfortable, but I wasn't. That wouldn't bother me at all anymore. And even big groups of people wouldn't bother me. I would be a bit naturally nervous, as anybody would be, but I would do it. I wouldn't have a problem with it. So validation, I would say the need for validation is gone completely, 100%. The only thing that I have noticed that is there very, very slightly, and this is not really about validation, is because I was saying a lot, I don't give a shit what people think, I don't care what people think. Very occasionally somebody will say something and it will get to me slightly, and I don't really know why. It's not that I'm offended by it, it's that I don't like it or it's annoyed me or whatever, and I get a bit surprised when that happens, and I think, oh, so that's not gone 100%, but do you know what, it's so minimal and it's so rare that it happens, and that's not really built up with validation, is it? Thirdly, I can get what I want. Yeah, totally. I totally get that now, and I feel it. There's nothing in me now that says you won't get the whole way there, you won't get everything you want. I just really, really feel that now. So all of that. What I would do differently is this. So I was very rambly about it, and I was making so many different statements. I didn't have a set of statements that I used because I'm just not a structured person. I'm not what you'd call an organised person. I'm just, as my friend describes me, yeah, but you're just a free spirit. And I think, yeah, I like that. That's what I am. that sounds good. I like that. So I don't make lists and things like that. I just do as I feel on the day, in the moment. But the last 6 months I've been working really heavily, I don't know if heavily is the right word, I've been working a lot with Neville Goddard's SATS technique. And it's funny because I've always been into Neville for a long, well, I say always, for a long time, and he was reading his stuff and listening to him is what made me realise what was going on here, and I cut back on all of the things that I was doing. But I never really kind of looked at anything as a technique as such, and I didn't really pull out SATS. Probably it wasn't the right time for me. Anyway, the last 6 months or so I've been really working with them. I've manifested some really cool things with it, mostly for Harry actually, but really, really quickly. So, and also I ramped it up with I get what I want. So really, because there was nothing else that I was really looking at on a subconscious level to change. So I thought that's always a really good one to ramp up. So as soon as I did it, the first session, I thought, whoa, I feel an even bigger shift now. So I use it for that. So what I would have done is, so if you don't know anything about Neville's SATS technique, it's basically state akin to sleep. So when you're coming into alpha state, pretty much going through theta, maybe you're in theta, I don't know, maybe you're not quite in alpha, but you're in a relaxed state. So you are in a very suggestible state. So you are stating things to yourself whilst you're in this suggestible state. It's self-hypnosis, basically. But you do it for just a short amount of time, this is why it worked for me. So what I would have done differently is come up with 5 core statements for each subject matter. So 5 for my confidence, 5 for validation, and 5 for I get what I want. And I would have just worked with those, and I would have probably done it twice a day. I would have probably done it once in the daytime. So I would have got myself into that state by counting back from say 50 to 0 or 100 to 0, and then got myself into that really comfortable, relaxed state and done it then for one particular subject. And then in the evening, the night time before I went to sleep, I would have done another one. And I would have had a routine with it. And that kind of routine is working really well for me because I'm not doing it every night. I did go through a phase of doing this every night recently, but I've cut back on that. And not purposely, it's just kind of happened, but I do it when I think about it. So I think, oh, I'll just do 2 minutes of that before I go to sleep. I'm in a good state. Or if I'm really relaxed, sat out here, for example, having a coffee with the sun coming in and it's really warm and I'm relaxed and I think I'm going to do it now. So that's what I would have done differently. And I believe that had I done it like that, so had I known a lot more about SATS and understood the subconscious mind, this thing is, I'm not saying I'm an expert on the subconscious mind, but I get it so much more than I did. And I really understand that I can talk to my subconscious and tell it stuff and it will do it. If I say it with conviction and sort of give it as a real order, although I ask quite nicely actually. Some people say demand or command, but I can't really do that. I like to be nice to my subconscious, but I use it a lot. So I completely am on board with the subconscious is what makes the magic happen. So I think I would have shaved 6 months off of it for sure. And if I was doing it now, kind of knowing what I know, I think it would have been even quicker than that. But let's say I'm going back to being in the state I was in then, which wasn't a bad state, but being in a certain state, so not being as far along the lines as I am with it now, I do think I could have shaved a good 6 months off, and I think I could have felt completely done with it within 6 months rather than a year. So I think I would have felt a shift after 3 months. And so, yeah, you know, it's entirely up to you what you want to do. And self-talk is amazing. When it's done for you, The thing is with self-talk and, you know, what you might call mental diet, I don't really like that term, because anything you try to deprive yourself of, it just comes up even more, doesn't it? But that mental work, that self-talk is amazing, but don't do it because you're trying to get something. If you're doing it for, say, a specific person, I'm going to try and improve my self-concept and all of that just so that I can get this thing or get this person. You're doing it, you're coming at it from the wrong reference point, because you're always looking for something and then you think it doesn't work, so you don't do it anymore. But you've got to be doing it for you. You've got to be doing it so that you feel better, so that you feel good. And if you do it from that standpoint, it does work. Of course it works, because we're doing it all the time, but mostly we're just bombarding ourselves with the negative and the stuff that we don't want, and we're reminding ourselves and chattering to ourselves about it. So we stop doing that. We change it up. We say the better stuff, because why not? Why would we keep bombarding ourselves with the crappy? If you keep telling yourself, this hasn't worked for me, I've done all of this work, manifestation, and nothing has worked, then you're sending that signal to your subconscious. You are telling your subconscious, this hasn't worked for me, this doesn't work for me. And it goes, oh, okay, this doesn't work for you. Because it's just going to do exactly what you tell it. Whatever you tell it with conviction is what it will show to you in 3D reality. I hope this is useful. I'm going to stop there because I did film this before, and when I look back on it, when I edited it, I thought, oh my God, I put such a lot of waffle in there around it, and I think I need to keep this on point really. So I tried cutting out bits and editing it, and it just didn't work, so I've come back and done it again. Okay, so that is how I brainwashed myself to be different. I feel like a different person. I don't feel like the same person that I was, say, 6 years ago. I'm just sort of plucking that out of the air, but you know, that person to me seems quite alien, seems quite, I wouldn't react the way that she reacted to things. I wouldn't be her, but I don't hate on her. I just think, wow, God, look how far I've come. That's amazing about what you can do, how you can change the way your mind works. You can change your mindset and then change your whole internal workings. And so you have a different future in front of you than you would have had you not done it. So had I not done this, my future would be different than it is now, I believe. I'm on a different path because of this. Anyway, I said I was going to stop, didn't I? Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, I'd love for you to do that.